So guys, I might as well go down on the rundown of what I did to get this machine running, the Mary Tiller. So, as I said before, I started off by buying the engine and I set to work straight away on getting it running, or near enough to operation. So to start off, the engine was completely seized, but thankfully it was not seized from the piston, it was seized on the ammeter, which is a common thing on these small engines. The ammeter just rust welds itself to the flywheel, stopping it spinning, and it was giving me the false message that the whole engine was seized solid. Once I got the ammeter removed and I sprayed D40, removed the spark plug and sprayed in D40, eventually the engine became free. I let it soak and eventually turned over absolutely fine. Valves are very good. I inspected them, they were proper good. So once the engine was turning over and everything, I then started my next focus was the two oil plugs were missing, so that had filled itself up with water, which obviously was not what you want, and I had that tipped out as soon as I could. Then went ahead and mopped up all the muck and crap there's two oil bungs here on the far side, and they show the very bottom of the oil, or where the oil sits, and I mopped up all the muck and stuff that had built up from whenever the weather had filled up with rainwater and crap. Thankfully, because the engine wasn't turning over, the motion never really kind of got that water that was down there that probably would have seized it solid or done some of its own damage. Thankfully, got it flushed out, put new oil in it, and then when I ran it, I checked the oil again. The oil had done its job on lubricating up everything, but also it had cleaned all the crap that I couldn't get from the oil, from where I could get in underneath, because I didn't want to dismantle this engine completely if I could help it, and I didn't have to, because I tried taking them two sprockets off, which you have to get them two pulleys off before you can get the sump off, and they would not come off. They were absolutely welded to the shafts, so I thankfully got away with not having to go near that. Next, my attention was the fuel tank and carburetor. Both were completely caked with rust. It was actually unbelievable the amount of rust that got in each. The reason for the fuel tank for being so rusty inside was because there was no fuel cap, and it had filled itself with water, mucky water. I then went ahead, I have a few photos of it, the process. I'd done a process of completely dismantled the complete carb and the fuel tank off the machine, off the engine. Then I filled it with stones, and then when you shake it around with the stones, it kind of does a effect and it starts flushing it out, and I flushed it out 3 times. Then I treated it to vinegar. Vinegar eats away at rust and kind of stops it in its tracks, and treated that for a week. Result. So as you can see there, you can still see there's partly a bit of rust either side of the fuel tank, but it was a lot worse, and you can see the fuel is nice and clean. You can see it there at the bottom. There's no muck or anything flowing around. So I think I've done a very good job on flushing out that old fuel tank, considering what it was like. I'd had to do the same to the carb. The carb was completely caked. There's 2 butterfly valves, one for the choke and one for the throttle, and they were both completely seized, and that was no addition. So I got them nicely freed out, as you can see, but barely a touch of a finger. They're moving. That's exactly what you want, because it all works off springs and the compression of the engine to keep the RPM with the governor. I got all in here was caked with stuff. I got a new gasket for that, obviously 2 new oil plugs, new fuel cap, and got all genuine Briggs & Stratton parts. New ammeter, because the original one was snapped, cut off, and I think was completely dead. New spark plug, as always, so she was given the full works. So then, with the engine now sorted, I turned my attention to the rest of the tiller. Now the rest of the tiller was pretty good. The tyres are holding air perfect. That one's a little bit soft, to be honest, but it has been a few months since I pumped it up. So I'll give it that. They're old tyres. They're not exactly going to be, and they weren't exactly pumped up high on the PSI, but that's okay. She's running on its original belts that I got with it. So it goes to show how much work this machine actually really got back when it was running. It was not worked a whole lot, which kind of saved it a lot. So it had its original tyres, I think, original belts, original engine, obviously everything's original, thankfully. Original rotors. The rotors I took off and just got them all cleaned down, not rust wise, but just was all bits of bale and twine and bits. So there's little seals either side of that. Two compartments are filled with oil, and what happens is the bale and twine wraps around the seals. The seals are around here, and what would happen is it just cuts the seal and they all just leaks out, and that's not what you want. So I got to stop that in its tracks and stop it doing any damage. Thankfully they weren't damaged, just to stop it if it did in the near future. And then next I'll just put on a new spring here for the tensioner, because the tensioner just wasn't releasing enough, which was causing the back rotors to turn over constantly. Even with the levers not pulled, she would still turn over, and that's not what you want. But once I got that sorted, I was really happy. On a machine like this, to get it going again. It was built in 1990, November, I think 12th. So yeah, it's a fair enough date, and yeah, she's over 32-year-old now. Nice thing about it is also, I didn't have to paint it. I had to paint a lot of my lawnmowers and stuff like that. They were much younger than this. They think that this is in such good condition that I'm going to leave it original. And even the whole engine, it's just I did give it a light Scotch gritting, which is like a very, very fine. It's not even sandpaper, it's just Scotch cloth and a bit of petrol, and just got rid of the rust stains, because this was all stained in rust, and I just brought it up that bit better without removing any paint. Glued on the old decal for the choke, and I even got to save that original grommet that fell off on the ground. So yeah, that's the Maximum Mary Tiller. I hope you enjoy, guys. I'll hope you have a few more videos in the near future of another lawnmower soon. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in the next one. See you again soon. Bye for now.